Hey guys, I'm going to share this story about the second time I smoked DMT, which was during a ceremony that a few of us had on the last day of Burning Man this year. And in case you don't know, DMT is dimethyltryptamine. It's often called the spirit molecule, or the God molecule, or the death molecule. And if you're interested in learning more or you don't know much about it, I encourage you to watch DMT, The Spirit Molecule. It's a documentary by Rick Strassman. But back to the ceremony and the experience which I had. So the shaman had me smoke the DMT from a vaporizer. I held the first amount in for about 15 seconds, and then the shaman encouraged me to exhale, at which point I was experiencing a sensation through my body that was a combination of nausea and pleasure. And I didn't think I would actually be capable of taking the second inhalation, but the shaman was there, and I rationalized that thousands upon thousands of people before me have done this, and I would be able to. So I took the second inhalation, held it for 15 seconds, and then I fell backwards and exclaimed yes as a means of inviting the lessons and the experience. So as soon as I fell back onto the bed, my eyes were closed, and all of these white, black, and gray circular lights started glowing one at a time, and there were hundreds of them in a uniform fashion, occupying my entire perceptual field. And during this point, I was having contemplations about the safety of smoking DMT, just because of the sensations I was feeling in my body. It was, I suppose, a slight bit overwhelming in the moment, or just, I was questioning it a little bit. And so I was wondering, okay, is this safe? Is this safe for the other people in here? Is this okay? And then I started to understand and feel this sense of peace that yes, it is okay. It is okay. It is okay. And as I kept reassuring myself, the gray, black, and white light started shifting to this orange matrix, an orange fabric with yellow circular glowing lights everywhere. And there were hundreds upon hundreds, actually thousands upon thousands of these glowing lights. And you can imagine a uniform matrix. Imagine a bunch of orange squares repeating themselves, and inside of each orange square is a yellow circle that's glowing yellow. And it was this incredible warm fabric, and it enveloped me in more than a three-dimensional sense, but in a multi-dimensional sense. And it was very comforting, and almost like the fabric of the universe there to take care of us. And so I was bathing in the warmth and the comfort of this experience, and it was really special, and yeah, deeply comforting. And then as I was immersed in this fabric, these beings started to emerge from the fabric, similar to the way, for any of of you who remember Magic Eye books with the diagrams, where you stare at them and initially it just looks like a uniform pattern, but if you go cross-eyed or bring your face very close to the book and then pull back, then you'll start to see different shapes and 3D patterns emerge. So here I am immersed in this orange and yellow loving fabric, and these four beings begin to emerge from the fabric. And they were the only way I can describe them in human terms are these 40-foot tall other dimensional beings, quite thin, and all of them have elephant heads, but no eyes, no nose, no mouth. It's just sort of the outline. And their bodies are made of the same orange and yellow fabric that the rest of the space is. And so three of the elephant beings come around me and behind me, and they're all sort of lifting me up and holding me and comforting me, while the main elephant being, he was wearing a top hat, and I perceived him as this medicine man or shaman, and definitely had a masculine energy. And he approached me the same way that you or I might approach a puppy, very delicately and non-threatening. He just sort of moved towards me like this, just moving his hands, you know how you would approach a puppy, just like you're not going to go straight at it or aggressively. You sort of offer your hand and let the puppy know that you're not there to harm it and you're gentle. And so that's what this 40-foot tall elephant being was doing, and he was reaching his hands towards me. And I started feeling the comfort of these beings as well, as though they were taking care of me. And aloud, I was saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are so nice. Like, thank you for everything you do. You're so beautiful. You're so warm. You're so kind. Thank you. And I understood these beings to be existing around us all the time, just not in the third dimension, but they are around us, and these beings in particular were here to help. And so as the main elephant being was approaching me, his hands started coming closer and closer, and they actually went inside of my chest, and I felt him holding my heart, and he was just infusing me with love. And it was very simple and non-invasive by any means, because I allowed it. And it was very comforting, like just the warmest, loving energy that was flowing from him to me. And a healing of sorts, almost as though he was healing my heart and healing my soul, regardless of whether or not I thought I needed it. But he was just offering me some wonderful love. And aloud, I continued to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are so nice. Thank you for everything you do. And I want to make note of the fact that I never lost sight of my identity as Michael Sanders, nor did I lose sight of the fact that I have a three-dimensional human body, which is which can be different depending on your DMT experience. A lot of people will totally release their identity and enter a space where they're no longer aware of their human existence, and likely don't even have memory of it ever having existed. It's like this fresh new place. And upon conclusion of their DMT experience, they will return to their human body and sort of be like, whoa, what the hell happened? A realization of something that they were previously totally unaware of. But for me, in this experience, I maintained the identity of Michael Sanders, maintained knowledge of my three-dimensional body, and I was also aware that I could open my eyes at any point and I would return to the yurt that I was inside of at Burning Man. And at one point I actually did, and everything inside of the yurt looked very kaleidoscopic, and I looked at the shaman, and it was as though I could only see one half of his face, but it was reflected in a mirror-like setting, and everything around was reflective, just like a kaleidoscope. So yeah, back to the experience where he was the main elephant being shaman was healing my heart and just infusing me with love. It was so comforting. And then after a while of spending time with these beings, and I'd also like to point out that this experience was as real as if I were to just close my eyes right now and then suddenly be in a submarine swimming in the ocean. Like I'm there right now. I'm in a submarine swimming in the ocean. It's as palpable and as tangible as me sitting in the back of my car right now. So yeah, it is certainly from my perspective a reality and not an illusion, which I realize opens up a whole conversation. But yeah, this experience was very real as any other that I know. And after a while, I would say about 12 minutes, I had no time dissonance. I was aware of the time that was taking place. So after about 12 minutes, the orange fabric in the being started to sort of, the three that were around me sort of went away, and then the main shaman elephant being, he started drifting into the background, and then the orange fabric, while it had previously occupied my entire perceptual field, my entire sensorial awareness, it started to drift into, sort of started to fade into nothingness. And then I opened my eyes back in the yurt and was just very grateful and had a smile on my face, and found it to be an incredibly easy experience to integrate with this existence, which might not necessarily be the case for everyone, and I've had a fair amount of experience with um, psychedelics and different forms of consciousness. So it felt very subtle and really beautiful. Um, and what was interesting is that afterwards I was speaking with the shaman and I was thinking, it was very interesting because in this room, in this yurt that I was in, there was a female to my left, a male to my right, and then another female to my right, and then the shaman is male. And in the DMT experience, the beings that came around me was a feminine essence on my left, a masculine essence right behind me, and then another feminine essence on my right, and then the shaman being masculine. So I had this contemplation of it being perhaps those individuals' higher selves that were taking care of me in another dimension, because this was certainly another dimension that I had accessed, and that anyone can access. Doesn't necessarily have to be through the means of smoking or ingesting any sort of substance. I believe all of these dimensions are accessible through meditation or through other forms of thought and intent. It's just everything's a tool, and it's just a matter of how you want to access it, and being, intelligent and mindful about how you're doing it. Um, and so, yeah, I had this contemplation that the beings were all the other individuals in the space, higher selves. And then a couple weeks later, I was chatting with my friends Dom and Jess, and my girlfriend Megan, and I we started chatting about the notion of how strange it is that the fetus inside of a womb is actually an aquatic creature. It lives in liquid, and then the day it's born, the vaginal walls open and it's exposed to this bright white light, I'm assuming, which we often associate with both life or birth and death, as people express. Those who have experienced death or have been close to it in return will experience a bright white light. So here, this fetus, this aquatic creature is inside of the womb, sees a bright white light. Perhaps it has completed its lifetime as a fetus, and while we might, as human beings, perceive it as a totally undeveloped human being, from its perspective, perhaps it's gone through an entire lifetime as a fetus and is actually, like a wise fetus. It's not this necessarily young baby, but it is a wise fetus in this aquatic form of existence. And then the vaginal walls open, it sees this bright white light, and then immediately it has to adapt to being a land animal, breathing oxygen through its nostrils, and a radically different experience and largely traumatic. And it totally makes sense why the now baby bursts out of the vagina and is now crying, because it's quite upsetting. And so I started thinking about that, how this aquatic creature is then birthed as a land creature, and I got covered in goosebumps because I had this contemplation that what if that elephant being medicine man that was reaching for me and placing its hands in my heart in this other dimension was actually like a birthing doctor of another dimension, or a birthing doctor in the next form of existence that I'm about to take. So, and maybe the birthing process is already underway in that dimension. So if you think about like the way time takes place, to me, like I'm 29, and let's say I live till I'm 100, I have 70 more years to live, which is a long amount of time. But to this being of another dimension, perhaps it's mere minutes to it. The same way that, like a microorganism's lifespan might be mere minutes, which to us is totally irrelevant. It seems like a completely insignificant amount of time, but from that microorganism's perspective, it has gone through an entire lifetime. It has gone through birth, it has gone through the trials and tribulations of being that microorganism, and has reached the conclusion of its life. So just because it occurs over a quicker time scale does not mean that it's any less significant or that any fewer events take place. It's just a matter of perception. Because like a human being's lifetime is totally insignificant if you think of it in terms of planetary forces and the way that galaxies and universes are formed, but to us it means so much. So perhaps this higher dimensional being, this birthing doctor, is actually in the delivery room, and to him, I'm only a few minutes away from being birthed into this new dimension. And I thought that was a pretty awesome contemplation. Whether or not it's true, it's pretty fascinating. And yeah, I just wanted to share it with all you guys. I love you.